Thank you all very much for coming today. And this is the after party for the London, Paris, Berlin HackXelerator that we've been running over the last approximately 1 month. We've got some very bright lights here. I'm Paul, but I'm involved with KXSB. We're going to hear more about KXSB from my colleague here, Joerg. But I'm also Flux as well, which is the artist on the panel discussion, so I'm just really here to confuse you. But I'd like to thank everybody who's been involved in what we're doing here, or what we've been doing over the last few weeks. We've been amazingly well supported by sponsors such as AMD and Vultr, who are both here, and also a whole bunch of other sponsors. Probably too many to mention, but Mistral Hugging Face, Pinecone, 12 Labs, and Luma. I think I managed to remember them for the first time. You're going to hear some talks from both, some lightning talks from both Vultr and AMD in a few moments. But I'd like to get Bryony down here to say a few words about the venue, because I think you'll all agree this is a fantastic venue. Bryony, do you want to say a few words about PT1 and the venue?
Always. Hello, everybody. Welcome, and thank you so much for coming. I love that we had the perfect amount of chairs for you. My name is Bryony Cooper. I'm the Director of Investor Relations here at PT1. And what we do is we're a venture capital fund, so we invest in early-stage tech startups. We have a few AI companies in our portfolio. Primarily, what our business is everything around the built world and the built environment. So we invest in real estate and construction tech, in energy and infrastructure, and that extends also to climate technology. So we see some super interesting applications of AI in that space. But tonight we're talking more about AI and creativity. I'm also a former professional singer, so I'm an artist myself. And I'm really interested to talk to the panel later about the different applications. But thank you so much for coming. Welcome. We're very happy to have you here.
Thanks, Bryony. So I'm now going to hand over to my colleague Joerg, who's going to say a little bit about the process that we've all been through with the HackXelerator and a little bit about KXSB.
Thanks, Paul. Willkommen, Berlin. How many of you do not speak German? Okay. Good. Okay. All right. Let's do it in English then. Okay, so thank you all for coming. This is our party part of the KXSB HackXelerator. So I want to tell you a little bit about KXSB and the initiative, the London, Paris, Berlin HackXelerator that we just conducted and celebrate here today. By the way, how many people are in the audience that won something in the HackXelerator? Some, yeah, okay. This one, yeah. Okay. Is Leo here? Okay, all right. Good. I'm asking that because I'm going to ask whoever is here to come join me on the stage in a few minutes. So you can start thinking about what you're going to say. So KXSB is a not-for-profit that we launched late last year. And there's 3 of us. There's Paul, who spoke before. There's myself. And there's another fellow called Les, who's not here today. And after some deliberation, we thought that AI is really something that we want to make sure with the power that we have, which is obviously limited, but at least we wanted to put some initiative into place to have people participate, because there's sort of this apathy in that tech is something that big companies put in front of people, and people get to use it or complain about it, but it's really nothing to do with them. And I think that with AI this is sort of different, right? Because the power of any individual having access to things like large language models or image diffusion models has increased quite substantially because you can do things with simple English language prompting, and so therefore it makes sense that we do something to make people aware that they have these superpowers now, and have them participate in this and not just be consuming what big tech decides for them. And then we also want to make sure people have access, right? Because one of the limiting factors is that to do a lot of things still costs money, or requires GPUs, hardware, and know-how, right? And so for the know-how, what KXSB seeks to do is be a community where people can connect and find each other and propose ideas, right? So we have kxsb.org, which is our web entry, kxsb.org. Yeah. When you go there, it's very simple. You can sign up with a few clicks, and then you'll be able to access our Discord. We have hundreds of people by now in our Discord that are artists, developers, people with ideas to build stuff, and we're looking for more of you to join and engage in that. And it's our job to facilitate that and make it as easy as possible, and work together with companies like our great sponsors to give you the tools in order to build stuff, right? And we do this in part through structured initiatives, and in part through, just dynamically people meeting up and deciding to do stuff. London, Paris, Berlin was our first big structured initiative. We chose the biggest cities in Europe to kind of give the participants and us and the sponsors maximum exposure in these centers, right? It doesn't mean that our format is going to be like a traveling circus, going on, but we may do traveling circus again. The big idea was that we set 3 geographies, we set 6 modes. So we had sound and music, we had imaging and visual art, we had gaming, we had fashion, we had the catch-all, multimodal, and I'm forgetting something. Who can remind me? Help, Q. We had one more, music, fashion, gaming. Video, right, that's right, video, right? And so we put that out there. Like, I thought at first, well, are people, is this crazy, right? We're coming out of nowhere asking people to do like AI stuff in fashion. Are we gonna find enough people, even being in London and Paris, and that will want to do that? And the surprising answer is a resounding yes, right? Interestingly, the hardest category for us to staff was music. Yeah, I'm like, where were you? But we still had a really cool project that won the music category. It's just an easy one because they had little competition. But in areas like fashion or multimodal, we had lots of ideas and projects that came up, and really high quality stuff. So when we're at the end of the stage program here, we're gonna run a mix of the events, the winners, the projects, just on this video wall. It's going to be silent with subtitles, but you can catch glimpses to see what we're doing from that, right? So that, I think, is about all the important points I wanted to get across here. So one thing I wanted to do, agenda-wise, I wanted to invite, I think we have TradeMind here, which was our runner-up in the gaming category. I want to invite them to the stage to, say a few sentences about, their point of view on what we did with the HackXelerator. We got Akane as well, who has been the winner in the visual art category. So if you guys can join me, and we can give you a perspective as well.
Okay, thanks for the introduction. Yes, we are TradeMind, and we were the runner-up in the gaming category. What we did is we induced AI agents into Minecraft. You might have seen it from from a different paper or from a different perspective. But what we did, it was not the NPC-style agents, it was rather agents tracking your behavior, and based on that, recommending you traits based on what you might do in the game, or what your goals are. Are you more of a builder, explorer, like a fighter, so to speak? And based on that, we will give you the perfect trait for you. And I think Oscar can give you a bit more of a rundown.
Yeah, I just wanted to give a thank you to these kind of events. I know that event hosts, they don't really know how much impact it has at some point for people like us. We quit both of our jobs, and we think that we want to pursue this full-time now, as we have finished our masters as well. And events like these hackathons have actually a huge impact on this, because we get to know, because in a short time we have to go from a concept or an idea to an actual MVP or product, and it helps tremendously to learn as a team and work as a team, and just really thank you for hosting this. And to what we do is, yeah, as Franzi said, we are trying to have behavioral intelligence on trading data in games like Minecraft, and we're also extending to Roblox right now and seeing if we can further it on other games. Yeah.
Okay, do we have Leo here? Anywhere? Okay, all right. Guess he got stuck in traffic. You want to, yeah, I have to insist.
Hi everyone, my name is Akane. I'm from Japan and living in London. Yeah, again, thank you for this organizing this event. And just like him, he said, I used to be a motion graphic designer, and I wanted to live as an artist, which is very difficult. So therefore, it's not very nice of them organizing things like that for an artist like myself. My project was called Quantum Consciousness. Basically, it's a system where you can talk to it and then interact with it. So I built this artwork, which gets projected onto the wall. You talk to it. Instead of writing prompts, you talk to it, and then which gets sent to Luma AI, which is one of the sponsors. And then it creates this art, and then bringing back to the project. And then you can manipulate with it with your hand gestures, but also the prompts get sent to ChatGPT, which creates dialogue, and then speaks back to you as if it is having a conversation with you. So yeah, that was my project. Again, I never thought that I would actually create Python code myself. So that was challenging for me. But thanks to this event, I gave it a go, and then luckily it worked at the end of the day. So therefore, yeah, thank you for giving the opportunity, and I enjoyed it very much.
All right, thank you. Yeah, the vibe code example. I mean, I want to, the impact of this is tremendous, and most people don't know yet that they can do stuff like that, right? I know that, there's limitations to everything, but we're also at a point in time, right? And I think it's immensely empowering for the community, and we want to continue to be there and engage and enable people with access and facilitate participation. Okay, I think we have two of our partners here, both AMD and Vultr. I don't know in which order, but they're going to give a quick lightning talk about their respective contributions. You go first, Kasia? Okay, all right.
Hello, everyone. It will be more introduction of who Vultr is and how we got involved in the project. So my name is Kasia Hilbon. I'm Product Marketing Manager at Vultr. And before I go along, I would like to say thank you as well for KXSB, Paul and George for coordinating this event. We couldn't do it without them, and we couldn't do it without all the participants who joined the event. Can I have the next slide? So who is Vultr? Vultr is the largest privately held cloud provider, where from the very beginning, our aim was to create high-performance cloud compute that is accessible, affordable, and composable. Without the complexity of the hyperscalers, you don't need to be certified to use Vultr, but also with all the compliances, data residency, and on-demand sovereign cloud. What do I mean by affordable? Compared to hyperscalers, you can save on the cloud compute side up to 50% on your bill without compromising the performance. Accessible, we've got 32 cloud data centers regions around the world, reaching 90% of the global population between 2 till 40 milliseconds. And composable, so we like the open source, and we would like to give our customer choice to choose the technologies they would like to build on the top of Vultr. Which means we're doing that through the IPA first, Terraform, containerization, and direct connect to also offer you multi-cloud or hybrid environment setups. I will quickly run through the main products we have on offer, starting from high-performance cloud compute, cloud GPU, with an access to the latest top-of-the-range AMD and NVIDIA GPUs, with B200 and also MI325X, bare metal, managed Kubernetes with management for the CPUs and GPUs, manage databases with the extension to manage Kafka, which is very important for connection with RAC, etc. Cloud storage with file, object, and block storage. And lastly, enterprise level of networking. Next slide, please. And just kind of a summary of the project. So we got involved with KXSB to join that hackathon, 20 days, allowing people to work their creative project on the top of Vultr with AMD. During the 20 days, we got 160 signups, 30 teams were created, 20 submit the project for winners, and we had 6 amazing winners in those categories. I never can remember, so I got a cheat sheet. We're also really happy that once we start the project, we managed to get on board big brands like Hugging Face, Mistral, Pinecode, Luma AI, 12 Labs, and of course AMD. So that's kind of in a nutshell. If you've got any questions, please stop me after the talks. I will be happy to chat. Thank you. And I pass you over to AMD.
Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you very much for the invitation. It's really a pleasure to be here and to work with a lot of partners sitting here. So we particularly working with Vultr. So my name is Joerg. I'm Director Solution Architect for AI and Web3. What does that mean? We are working with end customers on the software as well as on the hardware orchestration. So I would say 20% is on the compute side of things. So what is the right CPU and the right GPU and the network? And 80% is about software implementation. So because every month, every quarter, we see a new model, we see a new framework, we see optimizations, we have driver updates, we have PyTorch, ONCs, checks, whatever will be used at customer side of things. We do not have any standards yet. So that means there are continuously efforts where we are working with our customers to do optimizations. And that's a great thing because currently we are in a paradigm shift, right? Everything is changing, AI is changing our life, and we need to make sure, working with our partners and customers like Vultr, to make it affordable for the companies. So we just had some discussions before the event here, compressing how AI is currently working on the hyperscaler side. And if we just look into the numbers, it doesn't matter if we're talking about Gemini, OpenAI, or Copilot. It's currently like driving a 40-ton lorry and driving to the bakery and we just picking up 3 pretzels. This will be equivalent asking ChatGPT what is 2 plus 2, or please tell me the weather forecast for tomorrow. So, and then driving a very big model with huge capacity in the data center. And this is what we are here currently further developing the hardware side, specific in an open community. And this is specific AMD stands for because it's about you, it's about the community. You need to develop the software. Best case on an open environment. And why we are following the open environment, we also have plenty of different architectures in our portfolio. And if you please go to the next slide, the other one, thank you. Next one, please. So we have a bunch of hardware starting from the edge until the data center. This is starting with x86 on the CPU side. We have ARM cores, we have FPGAs, we have DPUs, we have graphics. And of course, we need to make sure in terms of the software environment, everything is working together. It doesn't matter if it's in a small switch, having a very tiny AI solution for DDoS attacks or improving the connection speed, or for autonomous driving, having an autonomous car doing decisions based on an AI model, or at the data center running large training models, or providing cloud service provider for AI agents, which we see more and more in our lives. And this is where we are really proud working with Vultr, getting this further developed. You will also see it on the hardware side of things, that with every new generation, it's not only performance or performance per watt which will be increased, it's also about the features where we need to react very fast to the market. So, for example, if we started 1.5 or 2 years ago with AI acceleration, doing everything on 32-bit, 16-bit, then quantization models came in, then the people decided, we need 6-bit and maybe 4-bit acceleration in hardware. So that means on the hardware manufacturing side, we need to react very, very fast, working with our customers, specific driving this efficiency route. And just the last point, technology is always following similar rules. And I remember my time in the end of the 90s where we got a Forbes article, and this Forbes article was describing about a startup company who was offering one of the first e-tail services. And they calculated it will take about 2 pounds of coal in just running one transaction. This multiplied with all people living on planet Earth, it will explode the planet. And this startup company is called Amazon. And 25 years later, we are pressing the button 5 times a day. And the sun, it's not shining now, but it's shining. We are still living. And this is because of the continuous effort we are doing with the community, with you, in optimizing the software and on the hardware side of things. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. I think what we're going to do next is we're going to start our panel. Are we ready? Moment? Okay, what can I tell you in the meantime? Did you know that we had 11 winners in the HackXelerator that all won prizes, including cash, including GPUs from AMD, including generous grants on our sponsor platforms like Vultr, Luma, and 12 Labs? Anybody excited to participate yet? Hands up. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, we're getting there. All right, we just need to serve more drinks, and I think more of you will make the jump. We're good? Okay. Yeah, otherwise I'm going to start taking questions. I'll be here all night. Okay.
Thank you so much, George. Can we have a round of applause for all of these speakers? Thank you. All right, we just realized the security guard has disappeared, so we're just going to put a doorstop so people can still get in. But anyway, I would like to invite to the stage my panelists for this evening. For the next 40 minutes, we're going to talk about different creative applications of AI. So we have Akane. Please come and join me on the stage. We have Paul from KXSB. We have Piotr, who I haven't met yet. Please come and join me. And Jeremy. This is for you. So everyone please switch on your microphone. There's a little on switch. Okay, so is everyone plugged in? Does anyone need a bathroom break, need a drink? So, as you know, it's a self-service bar. Help yourself to beer, wine, water, Coca-Cola. There's bathrooms over here and right here. FYI. We also have a cloakroom over there. It's not manned, but there's security cameras. So if everyone has what they need, we can commence. So panelists, thank you very much for joining me. So we have Paul here, Jeremy, Akane, and Piotr. And I'm very much looking forward to conversing with you in the next half an hour or so. So what I'm going to do is let each of you introduce yourselves, because you know yous better than I know yous. So let's start off with Paul. Tell me, who are you? What do you do?
Hi everybody. So I've got two names. So first of all, I'm Paul Dowling, and then my alter ego as an artist is Flux the artist. You'll find me on Instagram and all those usual places where you find artists hanging out. And I guess this is kind of like my time, because I think it's a time when art and tech have really come together very closely because of these new models that allow you to to do videos, to do art, to do music and everything else. So for me, despite my old age, I really thought, wow, this is it. I've been in tech for 40 years actually. And I've probably been doing art in terms of painting and other stuff for almost equally as long a time. So I thought this is absolutely amazing. These two kind of areas of AI and tech are coming together. So yes, I help with George and Les with KXSB, the platform that George mentioned. I also do a lot of other things, actually often with the help of Vultr. We run London PyTorch meetup, we run AI engineering and a bunch of other things. But I also spend a lot of time doing art, and I'm both abstract expressionist painter, but also a digital artist. So that's me.
Wonderful. Thank you, Paul. Jeremy.
Yes, so hi everyone. So my name is Jeremy de Gail. I'm the creator of AA Factory. So AA Factory stands for AI Avatar Factory. And what we do is it's an open source project that enables you to create, for now, video-based avatars. So you can, I don't want to drop names, but maybe Heijen, they kind of do something a bit similar where you can give a script to, let's say, an AI, and you would have essentially an image talking, or rather it's a video, that will just read the script. So what we do on our side is that you have this repository, this open source repository, where you can set up an avatar. You can just give one image, give a description of your avatar. So just describe the personality, or what it can do or cannot do, or what it could be offended about, whatever you want to say. You pick a voice, so either a voice from 11 Labs, or you can just clone a voice that's, either your voice or anything else in a couple of seconds, and then you can chat with it. You can either chat with it, you can also ask it, soonish, to react to a video. So, those type of content where people are just on the bottom of the screen and they are just commenting about a video. And our vision is kind of that AI or AI companions, they need a digital body. They need a digital body to be kind of graspable in their reality. And if you want to interact with them, voice is good, text is okay, but at the end of the day, you kind of want to see what or whom you are interacting with. And that's the journey we are taking right now. We are about 7 people, 10 people. The project was started like last Christmas. We have a couple of people from the team here, so thanks for joining. And so essentially we are trying to build it with the community. So if you want to join it, you're a developer or an artist, please feel free to join the AI Factory. Thanks.
Thank you, Jeremy. And you already heard briefly from Akane, who's one of the winners in a category in the HackXelerator. But tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Yes, it's going to be quick. But as I said, I'm from Japan. And then I used to work for a video games company. But didn't really play video games. But instead, I was making motion graphics. Because I was making motion graphics, naturally, I got interested in interactive art. The first interactive art I worked on was actually was a collaboration with my friend. She's a performer. She performed in Japan in a traditional theater called No Theater, where she wanted some air filters while she was dancing, and then created air filters for her. Then I found quite interesting way to interact with traditional dancing. So therefore, and after that, I just tried to get into more into interactive art, and that's where I am now. Yeah.
I love that. I love when we can mix modern technology with traditional art forms. It's really beautiful. Yeah. And Piotr, I don't know you yet. Tell me about yourself.
Hey everyone, my name is Piotr, and I'm probably like the least artsy person in this panel. At the moment, I am working at like a German startup called like Aleph Alpha, where I'm leading the inference LM team. Basically, what it means is we are like trying to take GPUs and squeeze as much performance from this as like possible. So I'll be providing more of like a technical point of view to our discussions, I guess.
Super. So we have a nice broad spectrum of AI enthusiasts here. What I'd like to ask each of you is, there's so many different applications right now in the world of artificial intelligence, but what excites you the most in the creative space specifically? Maybe we start here with Paul.
I think that, well, first of all, I'd like to say that AI comes in for a lot of criticism, I think, in terms of art. And I think, first of all, somebody who's been involved in both AI and creativity, I think it's a little bit unfair, because I think that there's such amazing opportunities to create, new types of art. And I think that really comes from multimodal. I mean, hence our own HackXelerator, really. So I guess to answer the question, what really excites me the most is I think where people are combining as many elements as possible, whether it's sound, video, image, but I think also extending that into the real world, whether it's pottery or abstract art or whatever. So, multimodal art has always been an interesting thing, and I think AI just gives it that kind of extra component that makes it, gives us a much bigger canvas to work upon. So that's really would be my answer to that.
Yeah. Before I hand over to Jeremy, I must confess, I personally have been very resistant to adopting AI, even though I call myself tech adjacent. So for 15 years, I've worked in the tech startup industry, always in technology-based companies, but from a creative background as a singer and a writer. So for me, it's very interesting to see the applications now, and I'm trying to expand my mind and trying to open my mind to new horizons. But there's fears involved too. But anyway, I digress. Tell me what excites you, Jeremy.
First, maybe I would like to say a bit more about what you just said. I think that those tools or AI models, they are actually, in my opinion, like a huge opportunities, especially for creative people. Like if you are okay to get your hands a bit dirty, and if you are okay to learn like those new tools and new paradigms, I think the creative minds and the creative knowledge of what makes a good composition, what makes a good story, is extremely valuable. Like tech people, they cannot that well necessarily do that. You can learn it, obviously, but I think you have a lot of potential, and I'm more excited than scared about it. I mean, I'm maybe on the side of the tech side, but on the tech side, we also live that thing, because you have vibe coding, like people they can code with ChatGPT and other type of models. But to go back to the exciting part, so I'm a lot into, let's say, gaming, and I think the term gaming is maybe not the right one when we talk about the possibilities of AI into those, let's say, world. I would call it rather like a simulation, where you have now, I'm not even talking about the future, I'm talking about the possibilities of what you currently have. When you think about it, you have things to create images, you have things to create videos, things to create text and audio. You can essentially create assets almost on the fly to let the world, any kind of world, expand. So what I imagine is that maybe in the near future, if someone has time and money, they could set up like a base of a game and let the game grow in a certain direction. You just let the system just decide what assets I'm gonna create in which direction, and essentially either like the players are not gonna be just kind of the central part of those type of things, but rather a visitor of that world. And that's kind of what really excites me, is those possibilities of creating those type of simulations, which I think could get pretty addictive. That's maybe the dystopian part of it. But yeah, I think we are already there in terms of technologies. It's just a question of putting things together. And that's the beauty of what you currently have on AI. We have a bunch of different models, and we talk about multimodality right now, and that's where it shines. It's whenever you combine all those different things that are good at doing just image, just video, or just sound, because it's essentially how the tech side is approaching it, and you're combining together to create something else. And this something else, you have like, I don't know, like endless possibilities I think in that realm.
Yeah. So Akane, as Jeremy was just saying, we talked about multimodal AI, and this was a theme of the HackXelerator. So like, first of all, for anyone that doesn't know the term, how would you define multimodal? And where do you find the most exciting opportunities in that space?
Well, I think they wanted to explain almost, right? So, yeah, so therefore, yeah, multimodal. Yeah, just like they said that, you can put all different things together to create something new. So, for example, in my case, when I first started as a motion graphic designer, I wanted to do something interactive, but I couldn't at that time. Now, we have so many different AI tools that actually enable you to, by combining them, you can create what you want to create. So, therefore, I am also excited about the possibility of it. I understand the lots of negative comments about it as well, but I don't know what future holds, but I try to look at it from this positive side of it.
Yeah. So you feel generally positive about the future of AI?
Who knows? I try to. For now, yes, yeah, for now. I'm enjoying it.
All right, how about you, Piotr? Do you feel generally positive about the future of multimodal AI?
Yeah, I feel very, very positive. Like with all that.
What excites you about the potential opportunities, or even the current opportunities?
With the current opportunities, so one of the panelists discussed this potential for the game engines, and this actually already exists today. There are some papers from Google or whatever, where basically if you use GPT, and in the GPT now we have this amazing image generator where you can basically tell it, okay, generate me such a scene. And you can paste it a picture, for example, of your face. And this is, by doing this, you are conditioning model to generate something. Model is just a model of a conditional probability where you can condition it on different inputs. And already today we have these models which you can condition, or okay, this is your previous frame or previous 10 frames. This is the user action, and you can generate the next image. And I think this will be a very, very big thing, especially for the gaming industry, when you will be able to create this extremely complicated words that are today they are you cannot compute them, because it's too much stuff to calculate. But if you can just dream everything, the possibilities are endless. So I think this is the out of the exciting stuff. I will say this is the most exciting one.
Yeah, definitely. So at PT1 as a VC fund, as I mentioned earlier, we have a few investments in the AI space. One of the recent ones is a company from London called Gendo, who's doing for architects and for designers to use AI to basically render images much faster than they're currently done. So of course there are people that are worrying they're coming for our jobs, right? And this is, especially in the creative sector, I think there's a lot of fear and people are very wary about AI coming for their jobs. So I want to know your opinions as a panel, like, you know, how can we use AI as a tool to help us do what we do better rather than feeling like we're going to be replaced? Or like, what's your feelings about that? Paul?
Well, I think it's, first of all, I think it's a very valid fear for a large proportion of the population, right? I don't really buy this idea that it's going to take away the drudgery and it's going to leave these super jobs for other people. That, you know, that was a story with outsourcing, and it's the story that management consultants will always spin. They'll always say that, you know, don't worry, your job's not going to go. And I think, ironically, people tend to think that it's creatives that have the most to worry about, and particularly artists, because they see how AI is creating images and videos and things like that. I would say it's exactly the opposite. You know, there's nobody better equipped than an artist to use new stuff. I mean, that's what being an artist is. The problem is everybody else, and I think what it does is it's going to raise the bar. And I think people in that kind of middle zone of creativity, you know, in other words, graphic designers and people like that, it's going to go one of two ways. They're either going to have to up their game and become super creative and, you know, and be in the elite of that, or their jobs are going to be taken. And then I'm not even talking here about people who are doing things like insurance claim processing and stuff like that. Well, those jobs are going to go. I mean, it doesn't matter how much the big tech players say they are not going to go. They definitely are going to go, without a doubt. So I think it means that humans have got to start to learn how to, you know, they've got to see it as a threat and a competitor, and therefore they've got to learn how to equip themselves. Both to use the technology, but also how to, you know, how to be more creative and to be more innovative, because that's where humans have a definite advantage.
Yeah, I think it's a much bigger societal question, you know, like if we can get AI to take away the mundane jobs, can we rather have more free time to pursue our creative pursuits? What's your opinion, Jeremy?
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think let's say the focus of artists is shifting already towards rather like a productivity game, in my opinion, where maybe artists have a lot to gain into working together with those tools to create maybe something, you know, like such a, you know, like a workflow, a pipeline of a thing really precise that only artists can conceive, maybe, or like some, you know, I don't know, like texture, shadings, things on 3D. I'm not so familiar with those things, but it's exactly what I'm talking about. I'm not familiar with those things, and artists are probably way more familiar with that. And nowadays with those tools, you can do pretty much something similar to coding, but with what you call no-code, tools such as, you know, like sequences of nodes where you say, okay, first you take the image, then you process it, you do this and that. I think there is a lot of values to have artists doing it. Actually, a lot of communities I'm part of are, let's say, it's mainly composed of artists, and they get their hand dirty and they get amazing results. And I'm pretty sure they make also good money with that. And I think there's also this part whenever you are, let's say, maybe in the higher range of artists, like you actually like produce something that is maybe, let's say, really valuable. You have like a lot of skills and really a lot of quality. You can also, it sounds a bit maybe strange, but you can probably like strengthen your ownership on your style and provide a smaller model that will do only this style, and you can sell it. You can sell it many times, but in a different way of selling one piece of art. You sell probably, I don't know, the model or the inference of the model or the inference of that style. I had a chance to work with an automotive company in the past, where what they did is they were looking for artists and people that knew actually rather design in order to have a pipeline that would create cars, like draft of cars on demand. And that was not just as easy as prompting or taking any kind of, you know, image generation model. It required also to create like those smaller models that are really precise for all those kind of things. And often the wording that you need to use is actually really precise. So if you are an artist and you know that, you know what those type of things are, you can find the right word, because it's often a game of finding the right word for the, like to find it in the embedding space. So and I think it's definitely the type of jobs and the type of tasks that artists will do in the future will dramatically change. But if you follow the trend, you're not going to be left out.
I like to think of it like Aladdin and the genie in the lamp. You have to be careful what you wish for. Like with prompts, you have to be so specific. Otherwise, you might end up with something entirely different. So, Akane, how do you feel, like, as a new media artist, do you feel like this is more of a threat to your future career, or is it more of an opportunity?
For me, I just appreciate it, because at the beginning I was making art with 3D software, but then I just kept making some similar things. But then with AI, it opened up all different ideas, new avenues of creating art. And I also collaborated with a painter singer, and I made a 15 minutes of video. The first one I created with 3D software. Again, it took me a long time to make it. And then the second one I created with AI, and then which was much faster. And then I could throw lots of different variety of art in it as well. So therefore, at the moment, I am just appreciating that this idea that AI gives back to me.
Yeah. And Piotr, you're coming from a much more technical perspective, right? You're an AI engineer, so you probably feel less threatened and more empowered, I would assume.
Yeah, I far less threatened, but if I were artist, I would be like way more scared, to be honest. Yeah. Like the way I view like arts is like the part of the value is like the scarcity and struggle. Like we want to know that like the artist was like starving, like somewhere there in Berlin, and that's why.
When have artists not been starving? Let's be honest.
No, but like it's part of the value, right? It's not a coincidence that like the paintings appreciate in value after the artist dies. And so I feel like now with like this abundance of like with abundance of art, it will be like much harder like to stand out, because like the struggle is like not there, so it's like harder to like claim the value, because like the value is like very speculative, and like the part of the appeal came from like the struggle, and the struggle is not there anymore.
So the struggle is real.
Can I just answer that, though? I mean, there's always been an abundance of art. Anybody who's been able to pick up a pencil or whatever. I don't think it makes any difference in terms of abundance. I think the tech community like to believe that suddenly these new models are creating art, but they're not creating art. They're creating images or video, and that's very different from art. And art always has scarcity, and being in that, 1 or 2% that is fine art or fine video or fine film or whatever. That's just as hard now as it ever has been. It's just you've got more tools to play with.
Yeah. So last week I was on another. Do you want to say something pressing? Go ahead.
No, I just wanted to say that now, like the supply of like people doing like art like massively increased, right? So now like 1% is like it will be like 0.01%. Yeah, it will be much harder. Yeah.
True. I was on an AI panel last week. It was more kind of geared towards like business and industrial applications. But I really liked what one of the panelists said. He said, I think instead of calling it artificial intelligence, we should call it assistive intelligence. Because this is the point, right? It's supposed to be a tool to help us in what we're doing, rather than, an artificial robot that's taking over our jobs. So how can we stay in control and still use it to make our lives better and easier instead of feeling so scared? So I think that's an interesting point.
Can I just answer that as well, though?
Yes, you can, Paul.
That's kind of what Sam Altman would like you to believe. Why would a company provide tools to do assistive intelligence when they can simply replace you? Which of course they can in most of those tasks. So I think you're taking the marketing from big tech.
I'm an optimist by nature. However, my perspective as well is like looking at this higher level against societal things. So when it comes to whatever governments rule us, I don't know if you're a believer in the dark MAGA conspiracy theory, but it's orange. It's orange. But basically, yeah, so, if AI is taking our jobs, that could still potentially be a good thing with the right political leadership in place. It could give us more free time to pursue our creative pursuits. Or it could lead to demise and ruin. So it all depends on your perspective and your faith in the leadership. Anyway, let's not dwell too much on that. But leading off of that, so let's talk about AI applications in different sectors. So let's talk about like educational applications, or in the corporate sector. Where do you see the biggest opportunities, especially in the creative space? But I don't know if any of you have had experience in corporate or an education system, but have you seen it in play, and has it made things better or worse? Maybe we start with Piotr, because he's always last, and you always say the good stuff first. We start this end.
Yeah, sure. So historically, all of the artists I know, they are far less technical, and they are more creative, spending stuff like painting or I don't know, working with garments or whatever. And part of the reason is it's very, very hard to learn technical stuff if you do competitive art. Yeah, it takes a lot of time. So I guess that is the biggest opportunity in the next 3 years that we are left with, is it will be much easier to learn technical stuff. It's already today you can vibe code stuff, yeah, but you can also learn hard technical topics that in the past, if you were in the art school, nobody is gonna teach you how linear algebra works or whatever. Yeah? And now you can take a book, you don't understand it, and you can ask GPT, explain this sentence to me. So I think it's it will the technical skills will be also much democratized in a few years, and this is a pretty good opportunity for artists. It's easier to learn.
How about you, Akane? Have you had experience in these fields?
So last time I was doing freelancing at some company, they were cautious about bringing in AI, so because of this legal issue. But now I think lots of companies they got over it now. I think they all started using it. So I think it's going to be a norm for companies to use it.
I feel like it's pretty much a norm now if you're having a virtual board meeting, for AI to record and transcribe the transcript, It's there's certain tools that are pretty commonplace by now. Yeah. How about your experience, Jeremy?
So my experience was, I worked with an advertising company, and essentially they wanted to explore the possibilities of creating more content for their ads with AI. And I guess you can imagine the kind of cost they can save with that, instead of inviting a bunch of models, organizing, getting the garderobe ready, and having photographers for a full day. That's essentially how it works usually. They would just use the tool and have the compositions they want and just generate the ad based on that. And then whatever would not work, which often is the case with AI, you would just fix it with, Photoshop or stuff like that. And this approach was pretty much the same also in the design department of this automotive company I was working with at some point. And they wanted, it was always a productivity game, as we know, for Gen AI, and to streamline and cut the costs of those type of things. So often what I see here is that they cut, those type of days where they would have photo shoots. Yeah, those photo shoots are often, I think they're pretty much threatened by AI. I'm not so sure if this can remain a lot. I think people would just sell their face or something maybe. But that's kind of my take on that.
Yeah. Paul, anything to add?
Yes. Well, first of all, I'm an ex-management consultant, so don't all boo at once. I'm recovering now. But I guess it's kind of made me slightly cynical as to how things like AI get integrated into organizations. And I always think of the term like turkeys don't vote for Christmas, and and AI is in my mind is a grassroots movement. So I think it's only going to come into corporates through the grassroots, through people using it to make their job simpler. But how honest are people going to be about how much they're using AI? How much disconnects are going to be between the senior management who want everybody to be using AI to replace themselves and people who are using it but don't want to replace themselves? And I think you're seeing that a lot at the moment. You know, I think there's a lot of people tinkering with AI in their organizations, making their life a lot simpler, and that's a good thing. But whether or not it's part of a strategic, opportunity for corporates until they can get hold of this and decide on how to use it to their, to the benefit of the organization, I'm not quite sure. And I'd just finally say about, the terrible term agentic AI and AI agents and all of this. If they're going to happen, right? But also, how quickly are they being integrated? It's not as quick as I think the AI players would like you to think it is.
I mean, just from a kind of outsider or consumer perspective, I do feel like AI is being integrated much faster than some other new technologies. So, we were all kind of waiting for VR and AR, and it never quite really hit the main market. But AI seems to be kind of penetrating pretty fast at this point, with, just every average Joe who's not even working in technology using ChatGPT on a day-to-day basis. And I won't even open the conversation right now about the sustainability issues connected with that, with the data centers and the energy it uses. We don't have time. We only have a few minutes left. So in the last few minutes, I'm going to ask each of you, what do you think is like the most positive example that you can think of as an AI application, or like what do you think from your personal advice is the best way that we could use AI, whether it's professionally in your field or as a society? Maybe we start again from Piotr.
Thanks. I will repeat myself. Like, it's much easier to learn, right? Like in the past, you might have thought, okay, I'm never going to understand linear algebra. But now you can literally copy it's like sentence by sentence from a paragraph.
So even your grandma could do it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like you can ask, generate me example, explain to me like I'm 5, and this is like the TA that is like perfectly patient, that it will not like shout at you and say, okay, you're like, you're kind of dumb.
No bad moods.
Exactly, yeah. So I think this democratizes, like, if you have like agency and you have like a patience to learn, even if you're not that smart, it's like you can learn stuff. It's like in the past it was not the case, right? Like if you were like not that smart, you didn't get into good school, like you couldn't learn, and now you can. It's like, I think it's pretty positive.
Yeah, that's a big win. Thank you. Akane?
Well, I think it will be useful for fixing stuff at home. For example, fixing boiler or fixing some cables.
Yeah, I used to go to YouTube and it doesn't always have the answers.
Ah, okay, yeah. But to say that kind of thing, okay, you're like fixing boiler, of course, maybe not. Maybe not that. But yeah, little things before you have to always call someone. Well, I'm not saying that, this job has to go or anything.
Plumbers out.
It'll be just useful.
We've taken over your job.
It's just useful for little things like that and help make your life easier.
Yeah. Well, that's the hope, to make our lives easier. Yeah. How about you, Jeremy?
I like dystopian stuff, so I think that's one thing that's why actually also I'm working on this AI factory thing. I think AI has potential to help loneliness, as a societal impact. I think, it would be better if people would talk to other humans, right? But when you think about old people, that live maybe in retiring house, and they barely have any contact, maybe the nurses, and that's it. Yeah. I'm imagining, for instance, the AI factory being an avatar with whom they can talk to and they can converse. That would help them maybe reduce, mental illness, and help them maybe have a better quality of life in those type of environments that are pretty tough. So I can see a lot of impact, not just that, like even when you go, doctors in Germany especially, it's really hard to get a doctor. And maybe like in between you could have something that would filter emergency or not emergency.
Yeah.
Still in a pretty good quality. You had like some research that were done on that, where they tested how good an AI would reply in terms of politeness and addressing really simple things. And it showed that essentially the AI was better just because it has all the patience of the world. Like it would not yell at you or not be too busy to answer like simple things.
Yeah.
And that's the type of things I can imagine here that would do good for society.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. I think that's a beautiful example. I've done a startup project before on IoT for independent living for elderly people that suffer from some memory impairment. And I think, honestly, loneliness is one of the biggest killers in our society. And if we can somehow mitigate that, I think the Nordics are doing a really great job in looking at new initiatives in like the human form, in terms of having like slow checkouts where you can just talk to someone at the checkout. Or they've even got a new program where in elderly homes they're giving students free housing if they just give some time to elderly people that are co-living with them. So there's some amazing human concepts, but that can be augmented with, you know, with AI and with technology. So let's work in harmony. Yeah. How about you, Paul, to close this off?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I just echo that, you know, care, and I think the parallel in AI and health is kind of like a no-brainer. I mean, the advances that are happening in like drug discovery, radiology, and all sorts of areas, health, and really there's not much of a negative there. So it's... Hmm?
They can pretend. Yes.
Pretend.
Yeah, proteins. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. There's some really incredible stuff. Yeah, so it's all upside on health, I think, or a lot of it is. No, thanks.
It's all right. I'm going to have Q&A in a minute, and then you can speak up.
Oh yeah, we're going to have some Q&A, by the way, in a second. But thanks anyway. But I was going to say just. To be different, to choose something slightly different myself. I think I'm really excited about what's going to happen, like in real world modeling and robotics and all of that kind of thing. I mean, I think that's the next thing along the line. And I think also with the real world modeling, you're going to get the ability, you know, for the models to learn in a different way. So they're going to learn by seeing, and they're going to get the physics right and all of that kind of thing. So that's a super exciting area. So we've got so much to look forward to in the next year or so. Yeah, so that's me.
Amazing. So we are going to have time for Q&A now, but first of all, can we please give a big round of applause to our amazing panelists? And let's not waste the chance to pick their brains. So we've got everyone from deep tech, like engineering side, to super creative. And I want to open it up to the floor. So if anyone's got any questions for the panel, we have time. So first of all, the man in the funky shirt. Do we want to run over a mic, or do we want to just speak up? All right, Paul's on it.
Thanks for the great panel. My name's Dennis. I have a question for everybody, and it's a little on the negative side, but what do you think artists and creatives can do to protect themselves from copyright infringement, from the AI being used to generate images that are in their likeness, stealing, say, like, well, it could be quote stealing, but yeah, like a lot of their hard work just goes, and now an AI can generate an image or even music that sounds just like them. So, what do you think? What advice would you give young artists today that are looking to be creatives in the future to help protect them from AI?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's. First of all, I don't think this is particularly an issue just with artists. You know, I think you're either for or against people using your data, full stop. And in general, I kind of resent big tech using data to train models and not to pay back. It's the same as social media, like they don't pay back. I don't think it's a particular problem for artists, but any more than anything else, because the laws are already there to combat copying. I mean, you know this in music. If you write a song, this is way before AI, and then and you write a song, and then I write a song which is the same song. The rules have always been there to...
I used to post it to myself on cassette tape in the mail and then not open it, so it would have the postage stamp date on an opened envelope. That's the old school way.
I mean, I think we should all be shouting out about
I'm
people
giving away my age.
But I think we should all be watching how big tech uses our data in every respect, and I just don't think it's particularly an artist problem, because the end result is either a copy or it's not a copy, and you don't make money out of copy. I mean, try copying a painting and see how much money you make. You make zero unless you're a very good forger, of course.
I mean, luckily, like technology and like search engines, they know if something's copied. So if you plagiarize content, it can tell. So I used to work in search engine optimization, and if somebody plagiarized like written content, then they just would be pushed down in the rankings because Google or whatever search engine of your choice would recognize that it's been plagiarized. So, you know, you always have the authenticity of being the first one to create it, but then who knows if we have to end up in long court battles to prove it eventually. I hope not. Any other comments on that? Or should we go to the next question?
I also think that often with those AI models, like if you take like music generation or image generation, you don't necessarily have the copyright of what you created. We have a case of a friend of ours that's created some music with, I don't know, like an online tool, and was contacted by Universal Music and had big issue to sell the music because it was generated by an AI tool. And essentially, you don't have the copyright then. You do have some licenses, like if you take, I don't know, models like Stable Diffusion XL, you do have commercial licenses, but it doesn't mean, I think, necessarily that you have full ownership of the image that's generated. It needs to be transformed a certain percentage, I think, in order to be something that you claim that is yours. Otherwise, so at the end of the day, even if people are copying things, they don't necessarily can make money on you based on that. And what I notice also is that if I take like example in the industry, often the AI models are too general. They are not able to do something really precisely. They would try themselves, but at the end they would call artists or take artists to do the thing because it's too general.
That's still like really a new field for me as well, because I'm very much from the generation of songwriting with pen and paper and acoustic guitar, you know, so I'm so old-fashioned. All right, there was another hand up. The gentleman right there. Yeah, please pass the microphone.
Thanks. Yeah, just follow up. My understanding of the whole like copyright discussion is more like people nowadays are worried about other people building a model that then basically captures their whole personality and creativity, and that's not exactly like a one-on-one copy. So it's not really like I would contest the fact that it's already like the laws are already in place. Right? I can basically train a model on my favorite comic artist and then have them create a bunch of images that have never been seen before, but still look like Möbius. So that would be the challenge. Just a remark, unless you have an answer.
So you mean that the fact that it's a variation of it, it's not exactly the same?
The challenge will be that it's not just like a conceptually equal, similar to what has been copied, but more like, you know, just like the model itself, right? The actual values being like sufficient to like create something that the artists might have created themselves.
I see what you mean. I think it depends what you would do with the image. Like, I mean, you can do like recursional things, like just for your own. But I think as soon as you want to kind of license it or sell it, you are entitled, I think, to prove it that it's you did something with it. Like you transform it a bit. You do have free licenses, as I said, like with Stable Diffusion XL, but a lot of other models, they don't necessarily provide that. If you use, I don't know, Flux, I think you can only...
Oh, you have to do your own model in order to, from my understanding at the moment, you have to do your own model to get to that point.
Yeah, essentially. And probably at some point we can look more into what data was used. I think it's just like a question of time, what data was used to train those models. You already have a trend, like I think a couple of weeks ago, a model was trained only on, like copyright-free images. It's not as good, but well, it just means that like researchers and the tech industry is also making steps towards that direction because they know it has a lot of implications. Like I don't know how many lawsuits those companies have already, Stable Diffusion and so on, but it just means it's not sustainable. It's just like the pre-game, and now we need to have something more mature.
Thanks. Thank you. We had another question right here.
Thank you. I have a couple of questions for the panel with regards to Web3 and their views on utilizing Web3 to ensure that the art generated by artists can be, stamped and placed on chain, and that's immutable. And do you think the application of Web3 can help artists, in claiming their rights to the creation of that piece?
Yes, good question. I've been very interested, excited in the past by Web3, and of course we know we've gone into a kind of crypto winter. It's a bit strange at the moment because even the Web3 world doesn't seem to believe in Web3 being a way of kind of protecting copyright, or at least they don't seem to be making huge steps in that direction. I mean, I think in theory it is the way to claim ownership of a piece of digital art, right? That's what it should be. But if you look at all the platforms, the art platforms, you know, they're all struggling and whatever. So I mean, I think I would like to see it, because I think the problem, it did present an answer for digital artists. I mean, forever digital artists haven't been able to make any money out of their art because they haven't been able to, you know, to make it an exclusive artwork. I think Web3 does give the potential, but I think the Web3 world has got to shake itself out a little bit at the moment and somehow provide. I think maybe the Web3 world tried to do too much. And then it kind of, you know, went into a dive, and then now it's kind of, you know, with AI and Web3 hardly talk to each other. It's kind of like a battle between the two.
I was actually wondering, I was actually thinking about the same problem maybe around a couple of weeks ago with my friend. We were actually thinking maybe one of the big barriers to entry is that people, especially people in creative, they're not as tech savvy as some of us in developers. I mean, that's completely fine. And maybe if we marketed Web3 solutions in such a way that was appealing, and if we could possibly, and I would love to get your opinion on this, perhaps use an AI agent to automate the creation of maybe a wallet and then automatically mint NFTs or mint an art pieces in NFTs. So let's say from a user's point of view, they would be able to generate their art piece with or without AI, but that's their own art piece, and then automatically use the agent to mint an NFT on chain, let's say for Cardano, for example, and then they would have ownership of that wallet. Do you think?
I'm not sure that is it more of a marketing problem than a technical problem. I mean, I used OpenSea years ago. I mean, and even as a complete dunce and not very good with technology, you know, I found it very easy to use. But as you say, Web3 does have a problem in usability, but I'm not sure what the solution is. Maybe somebody else has. Anybody else into Web3?
I don't have the solution. I've definitely seen a couple of startups try to tackle this problem specifically for digital artists, and they failed. That was a few years ago, so maybe they were just a little bit too ahead of the curve, you know, because market timing is very important when it comes to rolling out new technologies.
Yeah, I think the time is right, but it's got to somehow not become commoditized. You know, the problem with OpenSea was that it just got millions and millions of crazy images, and therefore it just, you know, it just commoditized the art, and they became valueless, really.
Yeah, I feel like there was a lot happening at the same time, and people couldn't. I mean, there was a lot going on simultaneously, so people couldn't really focus on the utility aspect. There were other things distracting the public. I feel.
And just like the public perception, I mean, like NFTs coming around a few years ago, like most people I knew in tech were going like, you know, it's just the public perception.
If you don't mind, I would like to ask a follow-up question to Piotr.
Please.
I wanted to ask you about token size and token limits when it comes to using vibe coding as a solution. I understand that vibe coding can be super helpful when it comes to creating an NFT. No, not an NFT, an MVP or a prototype. But do you use vibe coding, or do you recommend vibe coding when it comes to building production level software? Because I mean, you have the token limit, and then there are certain other issues, like, for example, you don't have enough support for other languages that are not particularly mainstream. So have you tried or have you experienced that, any issues with vibe coding when it comes to production level software?
Yeah, so like the big problem is not like the token limit, like you're talking about like a course, or if you have like the lower tier like subscription, you have like some kind of a problem with like a token, but this can be like, this is either already overcame, or like this will be like solved in like 2 weeks when like the tokens get cheaper. And like the big problem is if you like vibe coding, and it's like usually you like don't have technical background to verify it, like the models are like hallucinating, like doing like stupid things. And it can be like very dangerous. Like if you, I don't know, you set up like the payment system, and you will leak the data of your clients or like stuff like that. So this is like the one big problem with like vibe coding. Like you should be able to read what you do, and usually you don't, because either there is like abundance of code, or you don't necessarily have skills. So for MVPs it's like fine, but like for the like usually you would need some like double check. Yeah, I hope it answers your question.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a couple more minutes left. Any more questions from the audience over here? Can you pass the microphone?
Sure, it's just more of a comment expanding on the art.
Who are you? Where'd you from?
Oh, who am I? My name is Dias. I live here currently. I studied audio engineering in Sydney and machine learning and data science here. So a bit of on both sides. Way better at music than I am at machine learning though. So, but one thing it's more like a comment, but I want to see your reflections on it as artists especially. Machine learning is always going to predict the most center point of the data set that you give it. That's its job. It's just going to be an average assumption. Art is always going to be interesting and intriguing to consumers as long as it's on the fringes and the outskirts. By design, the way the machine learning algorithms we have currently aren't built for that. So actually this would be a great question for you, Piotr. How do you feel moving forward companies like OpenAI are going to start training models to pay more attention to the outskirts of the data set? And that's really where it's going to start disrupting the artists as they are right now. Because right now, if you're threatened, if you're an artist and you're threatened right now, more often than not, you're creating art that is industry. I like to differentiate between creating art that's industry versus creating art that's pushing boundaries. And if you're just creating industry and you're threatened, maybe get better.
Maybe you need to step up.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. To answer your question, that's like definitely the point that like what like the AI models do is like they do the predictions in distribution, right? So as you said, like the true great art is like outside of the distribution. It's like truly novel. You cannot like find this, and none of the AI models actually like that are currently being trained like address this in any meaningful way. And I guess like if somebody finds out how to do this, it's like $1 trillion idea. Yeah? Like at the moment, like we don't know. Like basically the assumption is, if you show it everything is in distribution. Yeah, like everything is the interpolation between like the different concepts, and this works like to an extent. But like we still don't have like a great. We don't have a great American novel written by AI. We don't have a great song. We don't have like this. We don't have like Leonardo of AI. Yeah.
Definitely not. We have a whole bunch of terrible songs, which are quite funny. But yeah, it's that's a really good point, actually. I think that's very interesting. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Good old thumbs up.
All right, we're almost out of time, but one more question from the audience.
Who? I'm not coming all the way there.
One more question?
So, I'm Leo, hi. So you were talking about the token size when it comes to vibe coding. And I was thinking about that too. So are there any rules when it comes to summarizing content? And what's the maximum amount? Like, I know that, for example, not Cleaner, but some other tool I use, they recently changed their name. It's like some little AI helper in VS Code. And at some point, it sums up the project files. So, and that was always my biggest problem with those tools, that when the project gets kind of big, it loses context. So recently, they started to summing up the project files so it gets this context. So where are the boundaries of that? And that's what I always wonder. So you have to sum it up, the entire context at some point, because it gets too big to feed into the model, right?
Yeah, I guess it will be me again. Sorry for like hijacking our discussion. Yeah, like so the context is like an open problem, and like there are like people like trying like to solve this. And so as of now, like people, for example, brute force this. This is what Google does. In Google, like in Gemini, theoretically you can have like up to like 2 million contexts. So basically like 2 million words, or like I don't know, like let's say 100,000 lines of code. And they hope that you can just like brute force like this, but as you said, like this deteriorates the quality. It's an open problem. Like nobody actually knows how to solve this. Like if you go to like a good conference of like I don't know about ACML, and if you like talk people that work on this at Google or at Meta, like, and if you buy them like 2 drinks, they will tell you like they don't know how to solve this, right? Yeah. It's an open problem.
Yeah, and then there's also OpenAI is claiming that the model has like it's never forgetting anything. It has like the entire context. So this, I think that they're basically just giving the model a tool to go through the history, right? When it feels like, but how the could it?
So the way they do this, like with memory, they create essentially, like after you ask them some question, they like run additional prompt. So like some information about you are like added to the system prompt. I don't know, you ask, okay, what do I do in Berlin? It says he probably lives in Berlin. Yeah, and this is like added to your context. So like the context is not infinite. Yeah, the context is like very finite. And like this is just like a trick. Yeah, like it's like the infinite context is an open problem. Nobody knows how to solve it.
Yeah, so this is just like a sales technique or like, yeah, all right, I see.
All right, so we do need to wrap up the panel. We've got a few steps here. First of all, can I have a big round of applause for my very informed panelists? Second of all, thank you all so much for joining. Please feel free to stay longer, help yourself to a drink from the bar, and mingle and network. And last but not least, Paul's going to give us a few closing words. So other panelists, we can exit the stage, but I'll leave it to you, Paul. And then Theo, you can hit the music after that.
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank Bryony, and secondly, we've got a special guest at the end here, one of our winners. Is it Leo? Yeah, I'll leave it to you. But thank you all for coming anyway.
Hello. Hello, test.
Okay, Leo is another one of our winners in the fashion category, right? And so I wanted to give him also the chance to talk a little bit about his experience in the HackXelerator.
Yeah. So yeah, thanks. So I dropped in a little bit late, so the event was already going for like, I don't know, one and a half weeks or something. And yeah, and I also was in hospital during like a week or something, so I had to bring my computer to hospital, but eventually it worked. And yeah, it was quite a cool experience because I learned like a lot of new things. And one important thing that I always wanted to learn and wanted to cover is like how are those AI agents are working. And it turns out, I think it was also already said that right now those APIs, and it doesn't really feel like it's an easy thing to do. It's like you have to fiddle around with the APIs, and there's not like an overall solution for the things. But I ended up with Light LLM, and then we started working with agents, and that was quite an experience. So our project was a fashion recommendation system. So we use a vector database for finding related products, and and the idea was that we let the agent find out the style of the user. And so I had to start learning the material and start getting into AI agents. And yeah, as for now, there's, I guess, it's not quite easy to get into the topic because there's not, as I said, there's not like an overall solution. But then suddenly, I think you mentioned it to me, I found Light LLM, and that makes it so much easier to integrate models into your workflows. So I recommend that to anybody. If you want to start out with agents, start out with Light LLM because it makes things so much easier. Because like every major API is integrated, like the Olama one, OpenAI, and you just have to register the model, and then you can use it, and you can use all the different models across. Like you don't have to go and use another package or whatever. So basically, what agents are doing. So you may know that some models have the ability to do function calls, and that basically works like this. So you give the model description of the function, and you say, yo, you can call this function. And in addition to that, you give it the prompt, and then it gives you a response saying, hey, I want to call that tool. And then you're saying, okay, the model wants to call the tool. I take the arguments that the model wants to use. I call that function. I get the return, and I send it back to the model. And that's basically what AI agents are doing. You know, they're getting some input. Could be like it could be like a webhook. So something is happening. So for example, someone is sending an email or something. Somebody is committing to a GitHub repository, and then you're sending those events to a model, and this thing is starting a workflow. And then from there you can call other models, other tools, depending on your workflow. And this is basically like writing a state machine. So some of you may know what a state machine is. It's like this thing is like a machine that repeats a state, and at some point it decides, oh, I'm using a different pattern right now. I'm in a different loop, and maybe there's some events and some event happening and goes back to the main loop or whatever. So, and what you can do there is you can use crews, and that's something fancy and something new that you can have like those, have several agents working together. Yeah, maybe the time is running out. That's something I wanted to say.
All right, back to networking. Plenty of drinks there, and enjoy the rest of the evening. Thank you very much.